Hey guys, welcome to the show. Just a quick reminder, the conference is 20 days away, 21 days away, something like that. It's right
Mhm.
around the corner. We cannot wait to see you all there. Tickets are still available. If you want to come in person, you can show up at the door and buy a ticket. You can get a 4-day pass, a 1-day pass. And if you can't make it in person, the virtual passes are available for $88. And I highly recommend that, especially if you're overseas, because it's a really cool experience. And you get to ask questions to the presenters at the end of their presentation if they take questions. It's a really cool feature. It'll be done through the Telegram group, which is on the website. So just take advantage of that. And we can't wait to see you all there. And Jackie is going to be one of the presenters, as
Mhm.
you may know already. And she has a new book that just came out today, which we'll get to in a second, because I also have to announce before I forget. Hopewell Farm CBD has a 20% off 420 sale going through now from now through 430. So you get 20% off all their CBD products with promo code JTT420. And that link is below in the description and also on our website, journeytotruth.online, where you can sign up for our brand new newsletter, email newsletter, which Jackie helped us set up. So thanks again for that, Jackie.
You're welcome. Happy
And
to.
Jackie's book just came out today, Parked by the Exit, which
Yeah.
she's going to tell us all about. I think it's something about parking near the exit of like big concerts and sporting events so you can beat the traffic
Yeah,
on the way out. No.
it's definitely what it's
That's
about.
actually that's what gave me the idea is I always park by the exit.
Well,
There you go.
maybe
Yeah.
you could just fill us in on, this
It
whole
is a
book and this whole program you've been doing and which is amazing, which Aaron was a part of that our audience might not know
Mhm.
about. And I think it's amazing what you did because you really,
Yeah.
so for those who don't know, she started a book program. What was it, 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Yep, a 6 weeks to
A
publish.
6 week book program, which basically lit a fire under everyone's ass who was
Yeah.
in the program and got them to get their books out that they've been writing for what, 6 years, 4 years? People have been putting them together. So it was
Yeah.
amazing what you did. And I'll turn it over to you and let you explain that. And then, and Aaron, you can share what your experience was like as well.
For sure. So I actually started Park by the Exit last year. And I started it before Project Star Maker, which I co-authored with Tony Rodriguez. If you're not familiar with that book, I know you guys are. And I kept sitting down to write it and stopping and sitting down and stopping. And I put thought into it and I realized both series Colony Cavalier and Project Star Maker were the writing time was a matter of weeks. It was the accountability, it was the difficulty, it's the emotional fatigue. And I had this idea. I was like, okay, if I could write this in 6 weeks, what's stopping me? And I was like, I have no I have no deadline and I'm not suffering with anyone. I mean, I was a little with Tony for both of those, but so I was like, what if a group of us did this? What if a group of people who already have their concept ready? Most people in the group, I would venture to say all of them had this idea for a book brewing for years. And we got together in a group and it worked. It was 6 weeks to publish, and we had weekly quota for word count. It's actually how you do it, how many words you've written instead of page, because when you're writing in a Word document, I don't want to geek out too far on this, but it doesn't translate to the exact number of words that will be in a book. So when you write a book, you actually go by word count to estimate how long it'll be. And we met each week and we had assignments each week to prepare ourselves for self-publishing because there's a lot of information and images and stuff that you need to have ready. And we did it. And it was awesome. The last week of the book program, looking around, realizing, 10 books are going to be published out of this. And they're all within this community. They're all some form of disclosure, or really, they're all some form of disclosure, either of um, I don't know. I don't
Spiritual.
think of disclosure just being like UFOs and aliens, like some
No,
Right.
people. I think of it
far
as like,
beyond.
yeah, disclosing the truth of what's actually happening on this planet. And so in that way, every book in the group is a form of disclosure. And it was really,
Mhm.
it was inspiring too to be together. And I think because I was driving the group, I knew I had to show up every week and have my assignments done. And I got it done. So that was the program. And then I have my editing copy of the book here. That's why it has this across it. But the book is done. It was released this morning. In the nick of time, I was stressing because I had asked you guys to come on and kind of promote it. And I was like, it's not. Amazon held it up for a while, but it's out. It's out there and it's live.
Yay.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so neither of us have had a chance to read it or skim through it or anything. So
I just
we're
bought
kind
it today. Just bought
yeah,
it today, but
Thank
still hasn't
you.
gotten here.
we're kind of going in blind here, but from what I understand, what you sent me and what's the title of the episode, it's primarily about your lifelong relationship with ETs and interdimensional beings, and I think it slowly starts segueing into your time in the programs, right? But um, I don't know anything about it, so
I'll
maybe
tell
you
you
can,
more.
right?
Yeah.
You can fill us in, about what that was like because we've only interviewed you about your time in the programs and not so much on your childhood experiences and this group that you call the Five, which I'm really interested in hearing about.
Yeah. So the book, if the audience here is familiar with me from past interviews, there is zero reference to experimental programs, but they are perfectly set up, dropping a hint. So another book's in order. But this is really starts all the way back from my childhood, where I had plenty of visitations from ETs or ultradimensionals. I share about some of those more. You know what? At first, when I was writing the book, I didn't want to lose anyone. I was worried somebody is going to read this. It's unbelievable. And then I actually like scrapped 40% of the book on week 5 of our program and decided I'm just going to tell the truth. So I shared about some of my childhood experiences of levitation, of being tested by ETs, I didn't know anything about space programs at the time. I didn't even know about space programs until my 20s, until I was likely back from any experimental programs that I've been in. And then there was this, this is important. My connection to what I call the Five, which I call them that because I don't want to give too much of the book away, but when I asked them their name, it was a sound that I couldn't easily replicate. So I just said, may I call you the Five? And that's what happened. They didn't come to me and say, we're your ET, Sacred Council of Five. They actually showed up to me first as voices that sounded like my intuition. And this is why this is important because a lot of us have little nudges that were like, that could be my intuition, but it feels like something more. It feels like there's a stronger guidance behind it than just my internal biological drive. And if I had just accepted that and stopped there, I believe that sometimes things are revealed to us in the capacity that our nervous system can handle it.
Mhm.
So if I hadn't said, I actually think this is more, let me figure this out and really set my intention and set my willpower to understand more, because then they started revealing themselves as purple orbs. And then over the time, the purple orbs started showing faces that were uncomfortable. If I had just seen these faces the first time I was connecting with this guidance, it probably would have freaked me out and I would have shut it down. It's the kind of stuff we see in scary movies. And then ultimately, I see their full form and they're ETs. Period. They look like grays.
Oh,
And they've been with me my entire life. They've been teaching me and guiding me since I was a child. And only in my really adult life, when I was fully ready to embrace that that is a reality for me, and not only embrace it, but not hide it, not question myself, not be ashamed of it. The moment when I was like, if this is my truth, this is my truth. I saw them in their entirety. And so the book is really about breaking down the scary parts of that, ways that I found that was easier to connect with them, which is basically a deep transcendental meditation is the easiest way to see them. I hear them all the time, but if I want to see them, there's a process. And how that developed me and equipped me to live on Earth as a medium, really. I believe that the way that we communicate as this ET race is what gave me my medium abilities, meaning we use something like a transfer, a non-verbal transfer of information that encompasses everything from smells to feelings, emotions. You can experience a year of someone's life in a flash if the other person intends that for you. And that's exactly what my medium connections are like. And I believe it's because I was this form and I'm still connected to this ET race to this day.
Wow. So you basically answered all my questions.
Okay.
And then
Bye.
run.
See you later.
So,
All right, good show. See you
yeah.
guys. Yeah.
Going back to what you said at the beginning of that, trying to distinguish between the difference between your intuition and these voices. How did you ever figure out exactly that it wasn't your intuition? Because a lot of times I hear voices and stuff and I just, write it off as like my higher self or something. Like, I don't know, what drove you to keep pursuing that, to figure out that it wasn't your intuition?
Well, I think our guidance is a part of our intuition. It's just, do you want to stop there? I think that we're wired to be connected, and we're also, as humans, set to forget. Meaning, when we wake up every morning, we've got to do some work to remember that we are actually massive energy bodies deeply enmeshed in the cosmic forces that just are. So for me, I kept asking for help. And I kept saying, I don't believe that the beliefs of my childhood are my truth. They can be some people's truth, because I actually think this reality can handle a lot of truths and they can all be true, but they're not my truth. And I kept asking for help and I kept hearing it. And this is where it gets important. You know how right now, if your mom came in the room or your cousin came in the room and started talking, you wouldn't have to look at them, but you'd know who was talking. The
Yeah.
more you work with your guidance and what you're receiving, the more you can develop that kind of delineation between which is which. So it's like, this is my intuition. I don't see it. That voice, that's my intuition. Oh, that's my higher guidance. Oh, that's my guide. Oh, this is the 5. And you can actually develop a relationship where those tones are so distinct that you know exactly where they're coming from. And I think mediums are tuned into the distinct tone of spirit's past. And I think that over time, I developed the ability to hear clearly the distinct tone of the 5. And they work through my intuition, but they're not my intuition. That's probably the easiest way to say it. A lot of these things work through your intuition, so you could stop right there. Or you could say, but what's behind my intuition? And there's exercises that can help you in this. But the main point is that you need to work to understand from where the voice is coming. I'm saying voice, which is a human sense attribute to something that doesn't fit. Do you know what I mean? You're not actually audibly hearing a voice. You're
Right.
hearing it the way you would hear a thought.
Right. That
Yeah.
actually that actually happened to me 2 nights ago. I had a wild experience, a dream experience, you can call it. But as I was waking up, I heard a voice in my head that said, "Don't worry, Tyler, it'll just be a few seconds." And I was paralyzed for a few seconds. And I was trying to fight my way out of it, and I got out. And I don't know if it was good, bad, or whatever. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because when I heard it at first, I thought it was my own thought until I thought about it. I'm like, wait, that wasn't my voice. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't refer to myself in the third person. I wouldn't say, "Don't worry, Tyler." Maybe I would. I don't know. But
You
um,
probably wouldn't. Yeah.
right. So either way, it was really interesting that, I had to think about it. I'm like, oh, that wasn't my voice. But so along the way, did any of
So
this be
you didn't
okay,
ask
go
this,
ahead.
but I'll give this by example for anyone. So if we were working together to really enhance your connective abilities, I would say, first of all, you can re-enter. You can do a reverse quantum re-entry of that moment. And I would say, please go back and ask, who is this? And people don't realize that you can ask. You can actually ask and you can re-enter moments or experiences. And many of us trust this through regressions or hypnotic work, but we have the capability to do this ourselves. And so I would say, if someone's wondering, well, how do I do this? You re-enter and you ask questions. Who's
Right.
speaking to me? Do you have good intentions? Are you a part of my guidance team? Is this nefarious? Are you natural or unnatural? Because I'm not going to pretend there's not unnatural interference with our intuitive abilities as well. That's a whole other dark tangent we don't have to go into, but
I mean, we could, because it's actually something I think that people should be aware of, especially the newly awakening souls who are just getting into this and tapping into their abilities, who don't have really an understanding of of the lengths that the dark will go to manipulate you and steer you off your path. I think it's important to actually touch on that if you want to. We don't have to go there, but
yeah, definitely. And I think it's the same thing in the same way that many things can come through our intuition, many things can come through our blocks, doubts, and fears. So we might just be like, oh, I'm afraid of that, but there's actually a driving force behind it. And that's why it's important in the same way to say, why am I afraid of this? What is this? Where is this coming from? Is this mine? That's one of the highest questions you can ask. Is this even mine? And
Mhm.
yes, there are very dark things. I make a bold statement in the book. As many dark things as I've encountered in the astral, I haven't found anything darker than what's going on this planet. So if you can handle being here, you can handle growing your consciousness self and working in, I'll call them the astral realms. I don't want people to be afraid, like they can't handle it. Any human being existing in today's environment can handle it. But we also need to remember that we're way more powerful. And I think that that's not necessarily a given truth in this community. There are people who don't believe we are. It's been my experience that we actually are more powerful and that we can choose who or what we are interacting with. So if it's dark and you ask questions and you realize it's not highest and best for you, you either tell it to leave, or as Jerry Wells taught me, brace yourselves, this is a wild suggestion. You actually eat it. So you
eat it.
say you're either going to leave or you're going to become my energy.
Oh, eat it, like
You eat
literally.
it. Yeah.
So,
But you know what? It works.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you're right. We are so much more powerful than, like, you're right. It's like that's the whole key to everything. That's it. It's like that's what they don't want us to know. That's the only reason they can even control or manipulate or do anything in the first place, is because they've convinced so many people on the planet that they don't have any power, or
Correct.
kept them suppressed, their consciousness suppressed, so that they don't ever wake up to a certain level to where they're actually creating their own and utilizing their power and stepping into their sovereignty and power. Like the second enough of us do that, it's like boom, bye bye everything, you
Game
know.
over. Yeah, it
Completely
would.
game, and it's already happening. It's it's already happening, and it's just inevitable that at a certain point we'll start to see the more manifested version of that. But right now they're still hanging on by a thread, and they're still throwing they're desperate. That's why there's so much chaos, because we are waking up. Consciousness is arising. We are starting to take our power back, and they're freaking out because they can't have that because their whole parasitic existence depends on, they can't parasite off of beings that take their power back and aren't giving it away to them, right?
right.
That's like anathema to them. So that's why they're freaking out and throwing out everything they can right now, and that's why there's so much chaos. But there's this big split happening where there's all the people that are like, they're not at a level to do that. You know, they're getting more seemingly negative or more agitated or more fear based. And then there's like people that are raising their consciousness, becoming more loving, more sovereign. Um,
Right.
and somebody said, like, one person who steps into their sovereignty is and is connected to source. I mean, we're all connected technically, but you know what I mean, is more
Yeah.
powerful than a million people who are not. That's
Mhm.
how
Right.
powerful we are.
Right.
So yeah, that's
I
it.
really believe it. I think that people hit blocks, fears, and doubts when they hear that because they're like, I can't be. There's no way. It's because of centuries of programming.
Fear and
It's
programming, right?
yeah, it's in our genetic
I think
imprint. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think what you said, the bold statement in the book, I think it's the magnitude of that is more powerful than you might even realize, because when I heard that, it's like it gives you all the hope you could ever need when you realize
Mhm.
like nothing you've seen out there, like what's going on here is worse than anything you've seen out there. And if you're here, you can handle it. That
Yeah.
all of a sudden gives you this confidence boost. Like, you're right, I can handle it. That's not shit, you know? I mean, that's impactful, I think. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good quote.
Yeah.
So along the way, did any of these experiences become tangible, physical? Like, did they go from voices to be like, oh, that's a gray in my living room, or or did that all come with the programs?
Um, so the very first one specific childhood memory that both my sister and I have, and even my mom, who happens to be here right now, she remembers the night, but my sister and I remember it differently. So I'm always very careful to openly admit when something is a clear memory recall in an awake conscious state, or when I've gathered information through deep meditations or hypnotic regression. So when I took that memory into a hypnotic regression, because I was not able to remember anything other than the moment leading up to, and then it was blackout, and then I woke up on the floor to my mom screaming. So I took this memory into a regression, and in that regression, there were an ET, two species, two short ones, one tall one, that took me from my bedroom. That's one incident. And then there are two incidents in the book that I share about where uh, what I would call a flying saucer prior to my research or understanding in my adult life landed in my backyard. Two human looking beings that weren't human. They had a yellowish glow to them, as if their muscles were yellow. It was like coming through their skin. Um, Gave me this ball test. It started pretty basic and ended up advanced, where I would either levitate or not to keep the ball from touching the ground. And then there's one really sweet being that taught me how to tie my shoe. And my mom had friends over for dinner, and I came out and said, there's a purple being in my room. Look what it showed me. And I tied my shoe for everyone, and I was 3. So does that answer your question? Like, there have been physical visitations. The thing is, this was interesting writing the book. When I really thought about this, I was fearless as a child. I didn't doubt them. I didn't question them. It was so natural. It was just like, oh, this is what happens. Because I was going to bed one night in the midst of writing the book, and I thought to myself, if a purple blob materialized in my bedroom right now, I would like, I literally lay in bed and was like, what would you do right now if a purple blob being that talked to you materialized? I would lose it.
Right. And
I
not
would like,
trust it.
yeah, no, I'd
Yeah.
be like, get the fuck
Right.
out of here, get away from my son. Oh, pardon my language. Oh, we're on Rumble, right? I can say
Yeah,
that.
we're good.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I would like to pretend that I'm enlightened enough and I'm chill enough because my own guides look like ETs. But if any ET other than the five showed up in my room now, I would lose my, I don't know how else to say it, just lose my shit.
Right.
I wouldn't be cool. I would be freaked out. So it's interesting to think about how clearly I have these memories and how there was no panic or terror or even questioning of what are these things doing here. It was like normal to me.
Right. Well, and that's
Yeah.
prior to age 7, whenever the programming hasn't really, you haven't been,
Developed.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So and a part of you probably even knew who that being was, or maybe had some subconscious memory, and you felt safe. And
He felt like my
children,
friend. Yeah.
yeah, children know if the energy is safe or not.
Yeah.
And so that you can just go by that. So let's take this conversation. Let's talk about the grays a little bit, because this is something that a lot of people have a problem with. There's
Oh,
people that believe that there are no good grays at all. They're all
okay.
drones, and we talk about this a lot. It comes up a number of times on the show, but I'd like to hear your opinion on what you think the difference is beside, the difference between the government drones that are working for the black projects, the drones meaning grays, the PLFs,
Biological robots.
yeah, the program life forms,
Yeah.
compared to the grays that you experienced. And
Mhm.
would you say they looked very similar, or were there like, obvious differences?
It's like saying, oh, it's a white chick. Well,
Right.
she have green eyes, brown eyes, blue eyes, red hair, brown hair,
There's
blonde
a
hair.
large spectrum there, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So for me, it's like there's that many. But first of all, I don't stay that hip with the current speculations of exopolitics. So I'm not sure what people are offended by or upset by. But I'll say this. I remember my life on this planet with these beings, and it's really difficult to explain to human beings because a lot of our life is based around striving. We're striving for something, even if it's not our natural state. The human experience in this era, in this day and age, we are striving for things. And there's something about human nature that um, does better when we struggle and we work for something. The sole purpose of this existence was community, period. We were a community. We were, we lived a lot longer. We were all, it wasn't even our consciousness, it was like our biology, even though we weren't combined on a physical level, we were all intertwined. We had the ability to, oh, so this hit me writing the book. We had whatever we wanted. I know I was mentioning replicators right before we went live, but imagine that you had, through your consciousness, the ability to create anything you wanted as if you had a replicator, but not just material things, entire experiences. So if you want to go to this corner of this galaxy and see this thing that your friend told you about, you could do it. That's the ability of this race. But we often didn't, because when you can have anything, your focus goes back to who you are inside. Over enough years of doing it, and you did do it, but after a while, the purpose of existence was community, was to
Right.
understand each other, was to increase the amount of community and compassion that exists in all that is. We,
Yeah.
there's so many things tipping the balance throughout the physical reality. And some people believe it's only humans. It's definitely not. So this race was doing the work to grow the vibration of community and compassion. And I can't figure out anything bad or wrong with that, as hard
Right.
as I try. And we weren't kidnapping people. We were all the same race on this place where we existed. And we have this beautiful ability to transfer experiences in our communication so that I could love you so deeply because I could see everything you've been through in your whole life. And I could approach you so differently because I could harness a response within myself without us ever talking.
Yeah.
So I can tell you, I think somewhere in there you asked me, oh, this is what I was going to say. There's a lot in my brain I want to share. So let me try and keep it in order. I
No,
got
you're
better at
good.
this than
You're
writing
good.
a book. um, I said, so my husband was like, well, haven't some of your CIA, if by the way, if you want disclosure, just go to the declassified CIA documents. I know you guys know that, but haven't some of these documents proven that it's known that we're living in basically a replication of something, and we have the
yeah.
ability to alter our realities with our minds?
A holographic reality. They
Yeah,
literally use that word, yeah, in that
yeah.
Yeah.
document.
Yeah, and that my favorite, I always go back to the analysis and assessment of the gateway process. There's so much information packed into that one document that really you can kind of just get a general feel of what's going on through it. And my husband said, don't you believe that? And I was like, yeah, I do. And he was like, so we're not different than that race.
Yeah.
And,
That's
and I
powerful.
like,
Right.
oh my
Yeah.
God, I need to work on this. I need to use this more. It hit me. This is like 2 weeks ago, by the way.
Yeah.
I was like, I believe these documents are true. And I remember experiences of being able to do this, and I've brought some of those skills through my energy. I think that our energy lineage is a very real thing. So I brought the ability of telepathy and mediumship through into this body. Surely I have the energetic imprint of the ability to manifest in that
Right.
way.
Right.
And
Mhm.
the CIA is telling us that it's true and possible. So that was a big breakthrough in writing the book, was like, holy crap, I'm like, I set my mind to work on it. So watch my life in the next 2 years. I'm kidding.
Right.
I am
Well,
going to work.
they
Yeah.
even share documents about walking through walls and, shifting your frequencies and I mean a number of superhuman abilities. What
Yeah.
we would consider
Telepathy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
superhuman abilities. And I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine today, and he was talking about one of the things he likes to do in groups of people is he likes to bet them whether or not they can look at a cloud and make it disappear. And he said he actually has made money by getting people to focus their attention on a cloud and make it disappear when they didn't even know they could do it. And
Mhm.
he said, oh, he goes, I guarantee you it works. If you set that intention, like pick a small
Yeah.
cloud, but it'll literally disappear in front of your eyes. And
Uh,
yeah,
my partner Amanda actually she does that all the time, and
really?
she like freaked out
Interesting.
people in her family by doing it.
But I mean, that's just one
And they're
simple
like, "Oh,
example.
Hmm.
wow,
Yeah.
that you actually did that." She does it all the time.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what you said also about being able to do whatever you wanted to do on that other planet, but you just, why go explore whenever we're constantly, what do we want here most on Earth? Love and unity, right? Community. And that's so true because if I was given the opportunity to go have anything I wanted, yeah, I could travel the world, but that would really wouldn't be fulfilling if I was like empty inside, if I was void of something, if I was missing something. You don't have to travel to go find that. And I think once you have that, it doesn't matter where you are, that's where happiness lies.
It's interesting to consider giving freedom and limitless possibility that a race would come back to focusing on compassion and community. Compassion is not quite the right word. It's like a hybrid of empathy, compassion, and community in one. But that's what everyone came back like in the end. That was the focus.
Right.
I wanted to say these grays, the five, they're not gray, actually. I've described them before, maybe on your show. They look like the color you'd expect someone dead to look, a greenish, bluish gray, uncomfortable. You can see their veins, especially in their heads, and they look emaciated slightly, with four fingers instead of five. So I I mean, how many people describe grays in slightly different ways?
Yeah.
Because there's
Mhm.
probably, I
There's
mean,
thousands.
and they're growing.
Yeah,
We know about DNA modification. We know about hybridization. There's no reason why there wouldn't be new species being developed endlessly forever.
right.
So
Right.
we probably don't even have any kind of real idea of how many different species of grays there actually are.
And
Right.
the gray hybrid program, which we've talked about a number of times, we've interviewed people and it's a real thing as far as I'm concerned. And if that's true, I truly believe that a number of the population, a number of the children being born today probably have extraterrestrial gray DNA from these experiments in them. And I would say that, they're walking among us right
Oh
now
yeah,
too. And if you
not even
look
the
at
kids our age.
right, and but if you look at the
Mhm.
like the people have changed. If you look at a yearbook from the 1970s, a
Mhm.
high school yearbook compared to now, like the people in the 70s, they all look like they were 30 years
They
old in
they
high
look way
school.
older. They
Yeah.
look way older. You're right.
And
That's so
body
true.
shape has been changing. And that's not like you can say natural evolution, but I think it's more likely genetic experimentation, unbeknownst to us, that they're constantly manipulating our DNA. And we are shifting, we are changing. It's look at the Trumps. Like his child is like 8 foot tall. Barron Trump
Yeah.
is like, and he's 17, 18
Giant.
years old. And Ivanka is just as tall and they look like ETs. I mean, like something's going on here.
Well, a lot of people say Melania is a Palladian,
Right.
straight up Palladian, yeah, if that's true.
So What are your thoughts on that? Or do you have thoughts on that?
So I would say before I had information about programs, like before I knew about any of, I only really came to understanding of experimental programs within the past 7 years. So prior to that, I would have said as a psychic, solely a psychic. I've never believed we're all one race on Earth. There's just no way.
Right.
I think that there's been hybrids and that there's a continuation of hybridization since Earth's inception, honestly. But
Mhm.
there's been periods where, can you guys see my blunt? I'm just kidding. It's
I see
my
Yeah. Right.
it's my essential oil diffuser.
Yeah. You smoking
Um,
weed over there? Yeah.
Yeah.
no, no, but I keep seeing the smoke come across the screen. It's just a eucalyptus diffuser.
Nice.
Um, I think that there have been periods in Earth's history though where it kind of froze, where you kind of like hear about things or who knows what how much of history is true, but you just get this sense of like, where did everyone go? Where did all of our ET ancestors go during that period and what was going on? So I think you
Inner
can
inner Earth. A lot of them at the last cataclysm went into inner Earth and are still there, or they were there before that even. And then a lot of them went elsewhere. And yeah, it seems like the last, I don't know, 7 to 10,000 years, or maybe less than that, we've kind of on the surface been left alone, at least like visually, like
yeah.
not really, but as far as like not everyone knows the ATs are even real, they've kind of like, I think like the story about behind that is they've stepped back to see how humanity would act seemingly left alone, like by ourselves without overt ET intervention or living amongst us or overt control.
Right. And then we
Um,
we kind of blew that
yeah,
one.
that's gone. Yeah.
Right.
but now the ascension's happening and now it's like everyone's being forced to choose and you're either going to go with the planet or you're going to have to go somewhere else because that's where we're at now. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
That's a side.
No,
But yeah, supposedly, though, going back to the ET genetics thing, like supposedly we have at least 22 different ET races genetics in us. So we're considered genetic royalty supposedly throughout at least our galaxy because not most beings do not have that many different species genetics and that,
Right.
22 at least if not more. So we have like basically all those races. I mean, the story goes is that they gave us like the best of each one of their genetics. They seeded them into us, and right now, the junk DNA that's not junk is just dormant. So we start activating that. We're going to start activating all those genetics that are currently dormant within us, but they're within us. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, so human
that's
beings are special. We're
more or
special.
less my psychic sense that I had
Yeah.
long before. And then as I started understanding experimental programs and what's going on, it's like just proof to me that that's the case. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So how does it feel to finally put out your own book, not co-authoring? You finally got this officially launched today. It has to feel pretty amazing, and the two books that you've co-authored have been bestsellers. So, uh,
yeah,
what's it like?
it's wild, really. I've gone through the high and low of every emotion that I've ever known in the process of writing this book. Even it feels incredible to tell you. I learned something, by the way. I always had visions of myself writing my own book. And I never had visions of the kind of, home I wanted to have or the wedding I want to have, things that are a little bit more stereotypical of females, but I knew I was going to write a book. And in between me and this book, there was a lot of emotional stuff, but also a lot of willpower things that came up for me. And the moment I pressed submit, I had this realization of there are some other things that I envisioned for myself, and now I know what's needed to get there, what's needed to bring that future potential reality into my present moment life. And that's something that I don't know that everyone gets to experience. Like if you don't push through on a dream or a vision you have for yourself all the way into fruition, you never really understand what it's all vibrational work, right? They're all vibrational resets to get rid of this doubt, get through this thing, get rid of this block, build my confidence, believe in myself, that get me into the vibration of the person who writes the book. And all of a sudden, I became very aware of these other visions that I have for my life, exactly what I need to do to get into that vibration. And I felt like it was training. It was training for bringing in those other visions. And it also was one of the most spiritually confidence boosting things I've done because I realized I can.
Right.
I'm
You
capable of it.
understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You understand what you're capable of once you hit submit, once it's done. It's very similar to the feeling that we had, hosting our first conference or putting out our first documentary, it's like, wow. And it doesn't even set
Yeah.
in right away, but I
Mm-mm.
understand.
Yeah.
So while you were writing this, did the five come through? Did they play any role in the writing of this book as far as, I don't know, were they there assisting you, do you think?
Yeah. Many times. Definitely. Many times when I wanted to not share something and they were like, tell the truth, which I said in our book program a lot, tell the truth, tell the truth, tell the truth. Who am I? They make me the best version of myself. And so all I should care about is who I am in spirit and in relation to my guidance. I
Right.
should not care what a person on this earth thinks about me. I know that's a little stoic and extreme, but it's not. It's actually very enlightened. As long as I'm operating with compassion, let's say, and love and consideration, I'm not being just an asshole, but if I put my truth out, it's not my business what someone thinks. And there were so many times I would feel them and hear from them while typing, tell the truth, tell the truth, tell it all. And I even got this vision of some event happening, and I don't really do future reads, although I've had some very accurate ones. So I'll say this, some event happening where people are going to be searching for books like this to get answers.
Yes.
And I was like, this needs to be out there. And also because, this particular ball game where I had to levitate, I have shared it with someone before, and they told me that they had the exact same test. And this person is no longer public about their account. But I thought, there's no way it's just two of us on Earth,
Right.
and so I need to tell the truth because there's 7 billion people who are going to think that I'm nuts. And there's 30,000 that are going to be like, this was me.
Right.
I'm not
Hey.
crazy. I'm not alone. This happened to me, and everyone said I was crazy. And those are the people that matter to me. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone, in a sense, everyone matters,
Everyone,
but not
but
really.
Well,
it's going to resonate with the people it's meant to resonate with, and it doesn't matter for the people that don't.
well,
Right.
and
That's the most important thing, right?
if it triggers somebody else, it still plants a seed. The trigger is a
Right.
seed,
Still planting
and
seeds, exactly.
regardless of what it looks like, and it's something that we all have to go through. Like going into this, becoming a semi-public figure, and whenever you're new, like we're coming from a world where we're programmed to care about what people think of us, right? So
Mhm.
there's a whole process there. You're gonna get the comments and you're gonna really like self-evaluate, and you have to learn how to like roll with the punches essentially until you get to a point where they just kind of bounce off you like ping
You just
pong
stop.
balls, as
You
Chris
stop
Farley
caring
would
at
say.
a
Yeah.
certain point. Tyler
Right.
Jackson to that. You're like,
Um,
oh, there's one of those comments again.
Yeah,
Funny.
people can be
right.
ruthless. And
Yeah.
I've
Oh
gotten
yeah.
some ruthless reviews about my contributions to Star Maker and Series Colony Cavalier. And so I was like, well, they didn't kill me. So they're going to do it
Yep.
on my book. They're going to do
You're
it.
still
And the
alive.
thing is,
Well,
yeah, I've read books I don't like.
yeah. Right.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Plenty.
Same.
okay, well, so you didn't like my book. That's
Right.
okay.
Right. That's
Not
okay.
everyone's gonna like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
And
maybe don't tear me to shreds in the comments.
It
right.
it it just shows you where the person's at. It has nothing to do with you, you know. It like,
Hmm.
especially if they feel the need to leave a nasty comment on like Amazon or on social media or whatever, like that just shows you where they're at, you know. It's
It's from
like,
a place of fear. They're threatened.
right, right.
But going back to speaking your truth, right? So that's a question that people ask me sometimes, and I'm sure Aaron gets this too. They're like, it's not so much a question as it is a comment. They're like, it's amazing how confident you are talking about some of these crazy subjects, and you just so matter of factly, have these conversations, and you don't. I don't ask people as a skeptic. I ask them to understand and learn more about what they're saying, and I realize that it's because like I've experienced I'm interviewing from my truth, right? I've experienced a crazy amount of things that everyone like I know the programs are real because I have memories. I know ETs like I've experienced it, I've lived it. So whenever we're interviewing people, I don't have to ask questions as a skeptic and have them prove it to me. And I think that's the big difference is you're coming from like your truth and you speak that truth. And when you come from that place, that's when all the magic happens. And that's why they come through while you're writing a book. And it's like, yeah, speak that truth because someone else out there is going to resonate. And you get to
Hmm.
have a
Mhm.
conversation on an entirely different frequency instead of the, contact these skeptic, you know,
Yeah.
Hmm.
it's just that
Yes.
that doesn't get you
Right.
anywhere.
No.
Like even if I don't fully believe in someone's story, I still ask them questions because I want to hear where they're coming from, and
Mhm.
you can learn a lot that way. I
You can
don't even
still learn
right,
things even if you, right. It's like people, it's not black and white where it's like, oh, okay, I don't agree with this one thing they said, so I'm just going to throw it all out. Or I don't even believe what they're saying. They actually had these experiences, so I'm just going to throw it out. Like you can still learn from everyone. So it's like don't throw the baby out the bathwater. And don't take anything personally if yeah, people say things. It's coming from a place that they're at, and you can even understand that better by like I'll examine like what is the circumstances that's making this person say these things or act this way. And I've really
right,
gotten to like learn the how humans, a lot of people operate and why they do the things they do, why they say the things they say. Even
right,
if I'm like, ooh, I don't like that person, you know, it is like a very I get a negative vibe, but I can now understand why rather than before I'm
right,
just, oh, they're bad and I just don't want it, you know, I just,
Yeah,
but I didn't understand, but now I understand why they are that way, you know.
right.
It's huge.
it helps for
And it
sure.
helps yourself, right?
So, oh, go ahead.
Well, as the book, it was for me taking on skeptics on two fronts. There's two fronts for that in the book. One being I'm a psychic medium and hear some of those experiences, and the other being, and I believe it's because I'm connected to an ET race that I lived in a past life. And
Hmm.
I really found myself trying to separate the two. It was like energetically and emotionally, I only wanted to take on one level of skepticism. And I definitely think that the five were guiding me to just move forward, face forward. So many times I heard them say, square off, shoulders forward, face forward, eyes forward, take on both fronts. Like just do this.
Mm.
And those words are meaningful to me. They may not inspire others, but that kind of like square off, lift your chin and walk forward with your face and your head held high and just tell the truth. And that was hard for me. I really wanted to pull out my ET experiences and just talk about the medium experiences so I could be in the, for people who like mediums, I wanted to be in the Teresa Caputo, the Tyler Henrys,
Right.
I wanted to be there. And it's like, but it's not my reality.
And
And I,
you're stopping halfway up the ladder.
right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and I also feel like sometimes I watch those people and I listen to things they say, some of the more well-known mediums that have been like, made well-known through Hollywood. I sense in their eyes they're not saying everything. Like I sense they've
Yeah.
seen things, they know things. And so I'm gonna just say the things that they're not saying because they have the handcuffs of Hollywood.
Right. And you're
Right.
100%
Right.
right whenever you said that there's going to be a wave of people looking for books like this. And that's exactly why, like, the five is like, tell the truth, square off, tell the truth,
Mhm.
because like the Teresa Caputo, cable network show medium thing. That's old news at this point. People in the large believe in that, right? We need to
Yeah,
talk about the stuff that's going to push the boundary, and it's being pushed every single day. So when people find this book, I don't think that you have to even remotely worry about how it's going to be received anymore, because we're moving into a time where it is going to be a true bestseller in the sense that many people will be buying it, and it doesn't have to be
Mhm.
pumped up in any algorithm.
I hope so. That's my
Yeah.
hope.
Right. I mean, I think all of
No, it
this
is. Yeah.
material. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the awakening is happening. People are craving this type of information now. That's just a fact. Like I'm seeing it. Like
Yeah. They're all parked by the exit.
us
Hmm.
doing our podcast and our conference. You're right. Like 20 years ago, you did not see what is happening to like just in that amount of time. Like you're seeing people, so many people. It's like the paradigm is shifting between our, I mean, from the old world that we were moving out of like this stuff is fringe. Oh, it's weird. It's it's only for, it's BS, or it's like not something most people are into or believe. No, 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 no. It's the opposite of that now. It's like everyone is waking up to the fact that this is all real, and they're
Right.
craving and people are having their own experiences, and they need to know, they need to like realize there's other people having them like you, and connect,
Yeah,
be like, oh my God, yes, that's validating my own experience. That's why it's so important to
So,
get truth out
totally.
there. Yeah.
so why parked by the exit?
For the title,
Yeah.
I really do always park by the exit, even if there's 500 spaces
Right.
available, because
Yeah.
I would rather walk than sit in traffic to leave.
Right.
And one day I was walking in my car from Sam's and I was laughing. I was like, there are literally 200 empty parking spaces for me to get to my car parked by the exit. And I felt the guide say, but that's how you live your life too. You're kind of parked by the exit. And that's more a nod to the medium side of who I am. Uh, Communicating with people who have left
Right.
through whatever exit is actually there or not there, and just kind of hanging out there. And actually, writing the book, I became so aware of how many spirits I sense and how much is going on. And that's just the way I live. Trying to explain to another person your inner workings, your mental process, or, I'm not even a big believer that our thoughts are coming from inside our brain. I'm not a
Right.
believer at all. I don't think they're coming from inside our brain at all.
No, they're
And
not.
then
So,
you're pulling them in. Yeah.
yeah. And
Mhm.
how much of my day to day is spent by this sort of exit.
Right.
Like I
So,
really am constantly talking to spirits. And I
and
would have said no if you asked me before the book.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And this brings up a good conversation. So, pulling in thoughts from the outside. I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. I think that's what happens. Like, it's impossible to retain everything like inside. Like, I
Hmm.
think we tap into this field, maybe
Field.
the Akashic records, whatever, but it's some sort of field, and the information's there, and as you need it, you pull it in and verbalize it. But also, this brings up a good point, that actually somebody asked in the comments. How do you know the channel is positive? Some of those entities have abilities far beyond their ability to discern what is their agenda. And I would say that could show up as intrusive thoughts or intrusive entities. You might think you're channeling a positive being, but maybe you're not. What would you say to that?
Right.
Mhm.
That's a great question. And it's super healthy to ask that and to consider that. And I never let it leave my mind. I never let that question go. And there is no guarantee, period. There's no guarantee that I don't want to connect to anything bad. And I do very strong prayers and intentions before my connections. But at the end of the day, I could be deceived. I don't like to say it, but that's just the reality. And the only way that I can build any kind of safety into that is I tell my clients, I'm not an authority. I'm not an authority on the other side or the unseen realm. I can only perceive with my highest intentions through my human experiences, because unfortunately it is going through this translator of the brain.
Right.
For me to take from my consciousness and to get it into verbal format, it is going through the translator of my brain. And while I do my best, I'm still human and I'm not an authority. So you have to take my information to your heart center and you have to decide for yourself if it feels true for you or not. And
Right.
spirits are not in any way, there's no question. If you're like, if so, first of all, I will only connect to loving guidance around someone or their relatives. And if that person has somebody trying to deceive me to get through to them for it, I would say it would be really difficult because I always validate with information. Either this is what they're showing me, this is, and sometimes people are like, I don't know. And I'll say, well, please find out because I want to know that this is the spirit because this is how they're identifying themselves and these are the details. And I do that in every single session. Beyond
Right.
that, I can only believe that my work is pure and believe that I'm connected to purity. And it's just an uncomfortable truth and reality of the work. If
Right.
anybody's not willing to admit that, don't work with them.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Actually stay away from the people who are overly confident
Yeah.
in what they're channeling or bringing
Well,
in.
that's almost a telltale sign they are being tricked and deceived when
Right.
they're
Whenever
like,
you,
no, this is definitely, they're like resistant to even being questioned about it,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
that's a red flag.
Exactly. I mean, you always have to have the humility to self-correct. If something like that does happen,
Right.
and you can, go like, just look at yourself in the mirror and realize it's okay. Like spiritual people, for
Right.
one, are the easiest to trick because they're all looking for that experience. Everyone wants to connect with something after they start going through an awakening.
Right.
And most of the time, they get so excited about the experience, they never stop and vet the source. They don't question who's on the other side. They're just happy to be connecting with
They,
somebody on the other
right.
side because it's a new ability. They're like, wow.
Lacking discernment, and yeah, they can flatter your ego and then you just like cling on to it. You're like, yes, and without ever questioning, wait, where is this coming
Well,
from? Is this actually something good that's just using me?
Right.
You gotta test these things, right?
so I was just sitting here racking my brain. Have I ever been tricked that I'm aware of? And you know what I came to as you were just speaking, Aaron, was only by my own ego, not by the spirit
Hmm.
world.
Only by
Only
your own
by my-
ego?
Yeah.
only by me desperately wanting something so bad and being so emotionally biased that I skew my intuitive connection or I skew my guidance to bend it to what I want. I'm the only one who's ever tricked me that I can
Right.
think of off the top of my head right now.
Right.
Right.
It's it's
Right.
it's like the person craving a UFO to see a UFO and they'll see something that could be something and they tell themselves it was a UFO and it's because
Yeah.
they skew it. They want to believe that's what it was. So they,
Yeah,
You convince yourself of the thing you want, and it's almost like a self-fulfilling thing,
correct.
right? Right.
Yeah.
I've
We
taken
should be more worried about that than the spirit world, honestly,
Right.
because our
right.
egos are
Right.
big.
Absolutely.
Well,
Right.
I've taken videos of what I thought might be craft, and I've seen things that might be a craft, and I don't even share it because I'm like, I just don't know. Like that
You're
looks to
not
me like it could be a UFO, and I don't
100%
know,
sure.
but I don't know that it is, you know. So there's a lot of stuff I just don't put out there anymore unless like it's 100%. The times I've really felt like I've had a real experience, you don't just see it, you feel it. It's an emotional connection. There's some
Hmm.
sort of interaction, and that's how I can determine whether or not like it was something real or, I don't have
Mhm.
to sit there and say, was that a UFO or whatever.
You just know,
Yeah,
right? You just know. Yeah.
right.
For me personally, too, I wake up every morning like, is today the day that I'm no longer a medium?
What do you
I
mean?
have that much like humility to know like that I'm a human being. I'm a spiritual being inside of this human body on earth. And I wake up every day not sure of myself. Instead, like, let me go try and connect and see if it still works. Before
Right.
every session, I've done over 2,000 sessions. And I sometimes tell my husband, I'm worried someday I'm going to wake up and this gift is gone. So I don't know why I just felt compelled to share that with you, but I don't think that
Well, you don't
I
take it
just,
for granted.
I don't take it for granted. And there's a very strong, it's more of a vibration of gratitude that I get to do this. And I think that if you stay in that gratitude and if you stay searching and seeking every session, I ask for the highest and best truth. I think that there is a level of protection that comes in with that. It's when we get arrogant that things, I think you can get tricked. It's the ego.
Right.
That's all. I'm formulating an answer to that question as we go, but
I
I'm
mean,
feeling good about my response.
it's true though. I mean, I always, especially I started off, my awakening started off after my mother passed away and I started getting all the negative attacks. And I started off negative, negative, negative for years until I realized I could do something about it. And that's a whole story. But it
Are you going to
caused
put it in
me,
the book?
yeah, oh yeah. It
Yes.
caused me to um second
Seeming
guess everything.
seemingly
Well,
negative,
yeah,
because in
seemingly negative, but
retrospect, it was actually a
it,
positive.
but in the moment, it
In the
was
moment, it
not
was
seemingly
terrifying.
negative. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right, right.
But so anyway, it caused me now to second guess everything and be skeptical of anything, like any channel or anything, because I'm like, man, like I know what you're saying, but I've seen the dark. I know what they're capable of, and actually, I believe I signed up for a lot of it as almost training, like to understand what they're capable of and the lengths they'll go to, and the crazy, they're so. I'm sorry to say, but they're brilliant in some of their ways that they can trick us and outsmart us. And I
Hmm.
realized like not just because it's a synchronicity doesn't mean it's a good thing, because the dark can make, there could be negative and positive synchronicities, and a dark being can manipulate your path just like a light being can. And you have to learn how to, determine what is what and navigate and through these times, whatever. So I understand like you have to second guess yourself all the time. And I just get that, because at any moment I realized when I did let my guard down and when I became overconfident, that's when I would be duped or tricked, or so you have to, it does become like spiritual hygiene or energetic
Yeah,
hygiene.
it is. Hygiene is a very good word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just you got to work that muscle kind of constantly.
And ask for help. I was thinking as you were speaking about maybe I was lucky that the depths of my darkness actually were in my very early 20s before I knew about the spiritual world or programs or artificial darkness as well. And it was sort of overtaking me. And I remember asking my grandma, I was being medicated, I was just in a dark place. What do I do? And she said, in that very moment, when you feel it the most, when you feel the attack, is how we described it, which is so accurate. She said, pray. So anything you can think of, pray and ask for help. And I remember this turning point on my life, walking over a bridge at my community college from one class to another, and just this fucking darkness, terrible thoughts, feelings, everything. And me being like, I can't go on feeling like this, hearing this, living like this. And I just stopped on that bridge and was like, please help me. Please. I was actually probably 19. And I don't know, I want to just put that out there for people. Ask for help because we get what we ask for. And when we're in that dark place with that those frequencies, as we're saying, that our thoughts aren't you're not responsible for your thoughts. You've gotten tapped into something really dark and negative, and just that intention, that vibrational reset of asking for help, please help, it will come. So I'm just
Right.
putting that out there. If anybody can
Hmm.
resonate, I just had to think back 20 years to remember this, but I'm glad we're talking about it because that helped me and it
Right.
stuck with me. And that's was one of the first answers I gave about the five is I kept asking. I kept asking.
Mhm.
I learned then and there on that bridge, I can ask for help and it's going to show up. And then I was like, what is this help?
Right.
Yeah.
I've heard
Yeah.
many people talk about that, where they're like the light beings, and we all have guides and things, and angels watching, like guarding us essentially, but they can only do so much without our consent.
Yeah.
So and they're like, at any point, like you can reach out to us and we will come in and help you, but we have to be the ones to reach out. They can't just do it. I mean, there's a lot they can do, but like a lot of times it's like
It's
you
a
know,
consent. It's consent.
right?
Right.
Or it's something that on our soul, on our higher self wanted to experience, and then the little us doesn't like it, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's all for a greater, on a higher level. It's where we wanted that contrast or that certain experience to experience. I want to experience what imprisonment is like. I want to experience what this is, so I can I can have the expansion of the contrast of that.
Right.
Yeah.
That gets more esoteric, obviously, but like, so a lot
No,
of
it
our
makes sense,
experiences
though. Yeah.
we wanted on a higher level
Or
for
orchestrated. We orchestrated
orchestrating,
perhaps
right?
even. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, yeah. You like have the realization one day in the shower when you're thinking about it, like, damn, I got myself. I did this to
Yeah.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn
Uh,
it.
uh, but so an interesting point you're talking about walking across the bridge and getting the dark thoughts and then asking for help. So this is something that I should bring up. I came from I was an atheist basically before I woke up, and I wasn't not like I practiced anything. I just was born into a religion and it was forced on me and I hated it. And as soon as I got old enough, I broke free. I found some people that didn't believe in all that stuff and it was a breath of fresh air for me. I'm like, oh, thank God. Like I don't have to like sit there and just follow all those whatever. It was just like guilt. So I just hung out with these people and I just kind of I got caught in that airwave, right? And I started disbelieving, oh, evolution and there is no God or whatever. And then when I started having my experiences, I I didn't know what was happening because I didn't believe in any of that stuff. And what I'm going to say is that even atheists, even people who don't believe in anything in a time of danger, you do believe in something because you always ask for help and you'll pray to God even if you don't believe in it because part of you knows. And it kind of reminds me of that episode of Seinfeld, Aaron, where
I
George
do
is
for the
like, "Oh,
bad things.
he's like, I always knew God would punish me." George says, I always knew God would punish me. And Jerry goes, "I thought you didn't believe in God." And he goes, "Well, I do for the bad things,"
Yeah.
meaning like when it gets bad, he asks God for
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's the saying. There's
right.
a common saying of, what is it? No one no one's an atheist in a foxhole or something like that, or no one's an atheist in battle or something
In a
something along
bear's
those lines.
den. Yeah. A lion's
Because
den.
you're
Right.
in war and you're like facing death constantly, and
Yeah.
like everyone, like no one's an atheist in that moment, because
Right.
you're in that situation, right?
Well, and what I realized was, I never prayed or anything because of it, and I never asked for help. Even I was too like arrogant to even ask for help,
Right.
even unless I was like getting attacked. And then finally one day I decided to pray for something, and immediately like the prayer was answered, and it was like one of the most magical moments. And that's when I started. It didn't take me long to shift out of that frequency because it was bullshit, and I knew inside. Like it was almost like a switch was flipped. I'm like, oh yeah, this is all real. I was just suppressing it within myself. And it was just always there. So uh but it was interesting. Like I didn't realize like, oh wow, like prayer works. I can ask for help, and it was a major realization for me, revelation to understand that we have that power. And it sounds silly, but coming from a place where I understand now the atheist agenda, they make you think that there is nothing you can do and you're just here, you might as well screw everyone over while you're here because you're not going to have to pay for it, and there's no karma. They don't believe in karma. They don't, so it's just interesting. I understand why they push that. And then you're like, oh shit, this is
Yeah, it makes perfect sense when you understand what's going on.
right.
Right.
It honestly doesn't sound that far from some sects of Satanism,
It's
really.
Right.
not.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really very much,
Like
yeah. It's
self-serving. It's very self-serving.
kind of the same
Right.
thing, really,
Yeah.
which makes perfect
It's
sense of why they're
very self-serving.
pushing.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
It's
It gives everyone a free pass to be a shitty person because
Well,
if you
it's like
don't, yeah.
it's ego worship too. It's
Right.
like it's literally the ego trying to be God instead of realizing that it's a part of God. It's like it's your small self trying to be God, thinking that's all that exists is the ego,
Right.
which is like
Yeah.
an inversion of reality. It's like, no, that's not the truth, but that's like the program that is. It's like that's what the dark you could, this gets more esoteric, but the dark forces, even though they're God too, but they've like forgotten that, and they're trying to be God, forgetting that they already are God. So it's like
Right.
they're that's like their whole uh MO, I guess you could say, is like rebelling against life and God and against the natural order of things, trying to be its own God and
Right.
rule by violence and force and things like that, rather
Exactly.
than
Yeah.
working with the all that is, you know.
Right.
Totally.
But that's what the ego is like in fear, because it doesn't understand those things, so it like needs to control things outside of it,
Yeah.
right? And that's what atheist, like a lot of atheists, you can see it, like the way they live, they're like so in fear, and it's like, or they try to play it off as like, oh well, that it's fine because death is, we just go to nothingness, and all that exists is the material five sense reality, and um but it's like, I think deep down, if they're afraid of going too deep, because then they have to start like
Yeah.
facing
You'll
that.
see.
So they exist on this very surface
Yeah. The
level.
among those circles, living among those circles, there are no such thing as deep conversations. They don't
Right.
go there. They
Right.
don't. They
They
don't want to
don't.
talk
They're
about it. They don't
afraid.
want to explore it. Yeah.
They're afraid to go there, right? Because they have fear of
So,
that. Right.
let's talk about the conference.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner. Jackie, you're going to be speaking with Tony, and
Yes.
I don't know if you guys have come up with a game plan on what you're going to do, but is there anything you'd like to share about that?
Yeah. So I actually am gonna fully commit Tony to this because, my book came out today. Tony's book is coming out within the next 7 to 10 days, I would imagine, which is basically the history of remote viewing and how a shortcut. It's the cliff notes for remote viewing as well. And I said, like, why don't you let's do a target? Why don't you do it in front of everyone? And he said, okay, I will. So that you can expect that. And also, one of the most powerful conference speakers I ever sat through did a group past life regression. And so I really want to, I've been saying this since last year when we first talked about me coming. I really want to use our time to empower people, to give them tools. So we will update on what's happened for both of us since our last conference and a little bit about the books, but I have a feeling it's going to be very educational and even experimental. Like if you would like to practice remote viewing right here, right now, we're going to do a group remote view and Tony's going to do it as well. So I don't know if that's allowed. Can we do that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Then
No.
we'll
Yeah.
change it.
Um,
That's our plan. I think it would be incredible.
it will be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it on. I think
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm excited, and it breaks it up. It just something different than the typical presentation, right? And I think it's cool. And there's going to be plenty of that, and I know it's going to be amazing and exactly what it's supposed to be. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
then
you
the Q&A time I love, so we'll leave time for that as well. I think
right,
really, really great conversations and topics come out of the Q&A time.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Absolutely.
so you were there the first year. You were part of the
Mhm.
inception. You were part of the first conference. So this is number 3, and we're excited to have you back, and
Yeah,
really looking forward to it.
I tell people this is the best conference. It's my favorite. And I have been to several as a speaker now, but I've been to a lot as a guest. And this venue and this group and this lineup and the way you schedule the timing so you can actually get to know other people there. I just think that the conference is smart as far as the itinerary, and then the speakers are phenomenal. So that's my plug. And I'm coming as a
Thank you.
speaker, but I feel like I'm coming as a guest as well because I look forward to the itinerary just as much and the other people attending.
Right.
Thank
Well,
Yeah.
you.
yeah, we're super excited to have
Mhm.
you there, and you will have physical copies of the book there.
Yeah, I'll bring copies.
Awesome.
And I'll be
Yay.
at my table. I've said this. I'll be open to doing many reads if I can help anyone while I'm there. I know it's getting harder and harder to get time with me, especially I hope that the book creates more of that, even though I know it's harder to connect. But so I will be doing that there as well for people.
So people can book a session with you, meaning
Yeah.
like at the event.
Mhm.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Free
Yeah.
too.
Oh, free.
Free. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll do maybe
wow.
reads for free at the conference.
Free with the purchase of a book. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right.
Exactly. No, you don't have
Yeah.
to purchase the book. I'll still do it. Yeah.
That's amazing, actually.
Yeah.
That's very beautiful. And for people who are unsure of stuff like that, and maybe somebody has never had a session with a medium or had, they don't always want to spend money on something that they don't
Yeah.
understand. So it's really cool, and to get people in that way, that's amazing. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
I'll be
Yeah.
happy to.
Yeah.
And the book is available on Amazon, correct? Kindle and paperback.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
As
And
of this morning.
yeah, as of
Yeah.
this morning. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
talking last night. You're like, "Oh my God, the book isn't out yet. Are we still gonna go live?" I'm like,
It was so
Freaking out.
stressful. I submitted so like well in advance just in case. And then, well, so I'll share this. I had an aunt that's read all of my works, even ones that I contributed to, and we would go and meet for lunch and we would discuss how I did. And she actually passed in November, and we buried her ashes yesterday. And I wanted the book to come out yesterday so bad, like in her honor. And I was really sad last night. I was very disappointed. And then I woke up this morning and at 1:21 it was put through.
yeah,
So yeah, it was just a really meaningful day for me to be like, she's I know she's reading it from the other side, but I was trying to time everything so that it was special
it
and
still
deep,
is.
of
Yeah.
course it is.
Yeah.
Deep inside, I was like, this is electronic stuff is spiritual to me. So I just turned it over and was like, every spirit I've ever helped, all guidance around me, you have to manage this because I'm heartbroken right now.
Right. Yeah.
And then I
I,
woke up and it was all fine.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
she's like, girl, I've been going since November. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
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 God, since November.
Timing,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a silly thing, but it was very meaningful to me. And I was happy this morning that it worked. So I'm happy to be here tonight. And thank you both for having me on to talk about the book and all of our topics and the conference. I'm looking forward to seeing you both in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes, can't
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah. It's here. It's here. And I have a lot to do still. So, uh,
And thank you for your book course that I took that forced me to finally get my book this time.
I know. Were you going to do a similar episode? Well, can I flip the mic for 1 second and ask how the process was for you?
Sure, it was intense. I mean, I've been trying to write this book, talking about writing this book for like 6 years, and I would write like once every like 6 months or
Yeah.
4 months at least. I would get like the inspiration to write like a little bit, and then I would like go months without writing. At that rate, it never would have come out, or it would have taken forever, and it just forced me to do it. So thank you. Like that's one. And then you were just so amazing. Your leadership and your guidance through it was phenomenal. So I just can't thank you
you.
enough. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you were in the group. You were a
and,
great contribution to the interview.
and so
Thank
there's a
you.
story you might not even know, Jackie. So Aaron was going to be presenting at the conference. So
I
he
was
was
supposed to be presenting originally.
And
Okay.
he said, this was before I knew about your book program, right?
Yeah, me too,
Or,
before I knew about it.
or no, I'm sorry.
No, you knew.
I knew. So this is what
I didn't
happened.
know.
This is
Yeah.
what happened. You texted me about your book program, and guess you had me in mind, right? But I'm like overwhelmed at the moment. So, um, I had the link that you sent me. I watched a little video. I'm like, this is really cool if I know anybody. And then the next day, I think
I
Aaron
texted
says,
you.
"Hey,
Yeah.
I think I'm instead of speaking at the conference and working on a presentation, I'm gonna work on my book and try and have it
So
released for the conference."
I was already planning on doing it before the conference.
And I was
Yeah.
like, well, ironically enough, Jackie just sent me this link and I sent it to him. And next thing you know, he signed up for it and now it's here. It all manifested like exactly how you wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I don't know.
Totally.
Like if you might have still done it without her or not. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the question. Do you think you
Maybe
could have done it?
it
Yeah,
wouldn't have
maybe.
been as good. I don't think though. I don't think it would have been as good if I would have, right? And I don't even know. Maybe I wouldn't have got it done in time if
There
not.
was something about meeting as a group and checking in and hearing like everyone's feeling the same
Accountability.
thing.
For
Yeah,
one, yeah,
yeah,
you have accountability to stay on track.
It's like
yeah.
a workout
Yeah.
partner,
Basically,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. right? It's huge because
Yeah.
otherwise you can just make excuses and be like, oh, go a whole week without writing anything or
Right.
whatever,
Or months, yeah.
or months. Yeah, right. And be like, oh, I'll just do it after the conference. It's fine. That's probably what it would ended up
I'll
happening.
hit
Right.
it
Yeah.
next year. Yeah, yeah. I'll get
Right.
I'll just do it next year. Yeah, I'll get it.
Right.
I'll have it for next year. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
yeah, anytime that, yeah, it's all accountability. And then you sign up for something and you're like, well, I don't want to like make this a waste. I want to make it worth my time. So I'm going to do
Also
it. Like,
that.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But you were very help. Like there were so many things. I'm like, oh man, that was so. I mean, just doing it in Google Docs because I was doing it in just Word, and that's fine. But like, it made it so much easier doing it in Google Docs. The autosave,
Yeah. Available
the
anywhere, anytime.
I can anywhere, anytime. I can click on the chapters and go right to it. Like I don't have to do it in order. I can just be like, oh, I'm gonna write. I feel like writing this chapter today. Oh, I
Yep.
feel like writing this part today.
right,
And that made it so much easier. There were so many things.
Little
I mean,
hacks. Yeah, there's little hacks that make writing a book easier.
right, right. And just walking through getting it on doing the Amazon self-publishing because I would have had to figure all that out on my own and it would have taken a lot longer and like
Are you going to do that course
cover.
again, Jackie?
I don't know. How's that?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good enough.
I want to see.
Maybe.
So I was the first to press publish. There's 9 others. I want to see what comes of it. Like I'm
Right,
going to collect accurate data. So the experience of writing as a group in the 6 weeks program, I loved. But I don't know if this is a success until people start pressing publish.
right. Well, I
Ask
Right.
me
think,
in a month. How's that?
okay.
Yeah.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll ask
There
you
you
at the
go.
conference during the Q&A
Yeah.
and you can tell
Okay.
everybody.
In front of everyone. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, um, this has been amazing. And for anyone listening who is interested in coming to the conference, tickets are still available. Rebelsofdisclosure.com. That link is below. You can get a 4-day pass, a 1-day pass. And if you can't make it in person, you can join virtually for $88. And it is a really cool live stream experience where you can ask questions to the presenters through the Telegram group, which is, I think, a really cool feature that not many conferences have for the live stream. And it's replayable for 6 months after the event. And all of the 4-day passes come with a live stream pass as well. So you can go home and watch any presentations that you missed. Or if you want to be outside enjoying the sun at the conference, you can still have the presentation going on your phone. It's a cool feature. You'll get the link as you arrive. So you can watch it from your room or whatever. You don't even have to be in the presenter hall. So I think that's a cool feature. And yeah, bonfires. Jackie, what did you say you liked about it? That
So I did sit out couple times when I was there. I was super pregnant and I had to sit down a lot, but I love the coffee and the tea in that main room overlooking the river, just chatting with other people at the conference, either between
Yeah.
speakers, after lunch, getting there early in the morning. That was some of my favorite time. That and the other speakers and just the vibe. But yeah, if
right,
you're not well, I was really pregnant, so I was going to bed at like 8:30. But if you're not a bonfire person, there's still really incredible time with people where you're gonna have mind-opening conversations for sure.
right. Uh,
That's almost my favorite part is the bonfires and the sky watches at night.
It
Just
is.
hanging out, having
Yeah.
amazing
I'll
conversation.
be sipping tea inside by the river.
Yeah. You'll be 17 inside, but
We'll drag you out there.
Yeah,
At
I'll
least
come out this time. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good time. Okay, well, we
it
look
is.
forward to seeing you all there, and thank you again for joining us. This
Yes.
was a
Yeah,
lot of
thank you
fun.
both for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yes.
And don't forget, guys, we are doing our Illuminati in the Music Industry webinar next Sunday, April 28th, on our Patreon. It's $5 to sign up. That link is below, and it's also on our website, journeytotruth.online. This is going to be another good one. There's tons of stuff right now. Like it's all hitting the surface right now. It just happened to be perfectly timed with us doing this webinar. So there's a
Yeah.
lot. We're unpacking a lot. There's a lot to unpack, I should say. So sign up for that and join us there if you would like. And until next time, guys, have a great evening. We love you all. Good
Good
night.
night, guys.
Good night.